Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you very much for joining me here. Hope you're having a fantastic day. Let's take a quick look at our Ethereum, see what's going on. I'll explain to you what I saw in the charts to effectively take a short position at 1790 to 1750 for a quick little scalp here of about 23% on a short for Ethereum. But also we want to look at some key level supports and resistances and just recognize that when in doubt, you can short Ethereum. Okay, that's kind of the concept right now. It's almost a running joke in our community here, and I'm sure probably online, honestly. I don't really interact too much with anyone else outside of my community, but I can tell you that overall Ethereum pulls back quite hard when Bitcoin does, and Bitcoin's kind of got some early signs of reversal. So having said that, let's take a quick look at the back-end liquidation data. I asked before we get started, just hit that like button, folks. Consistently do that every single video. You can really do me the biggest favor, or more importantly, it's just the greatest honor to be able to get that from you. Because unfortunately, YouTube sucks with the algorithm. They don't really promote my stuff whatsoever. And if we get more likes and more comments, then we'll get that to be a reality for us. Anyways, thank you in advance for always doing that. Take a look here though. Liquidation delta, just kind of give you a perspective. Before we look at the delta, we want to look at these heavy pockets. First of all, 1970, 1860, and then of course 1740 and below. So locally here, we just kind of got these four little ranges. This will be posted in my playout chart on my Twitter, Telegram, and Discord. But for the most part here, 1600s at heavy concentration. And we got a little bit left to the downside here at about 17. So overall, from a macro perspective, we still have more liquidation above the price. That does incentivize the price to go higher, but it requires Bitcoin to break through that $96,000, $97,000 resistance range, which we still have yet to test. We've gone as high as 95.5 for Bitcoin, and it keeps pulling back. We have a double top, kind of a head and shoulders type of pattern there. If you're not familiar with that, just watch my Bitcoin analysis. You'll know kind of where we're at with that. Future reference, if you're not watching Bitcoin analysis of my own, at the very least, do your own TA on Bitcoin before you trade any altcoins, because it's a very important thing to recognize, because it kind of calls the shots. And right now, Ethereum pulls back roughly 2x of Bitcoin almost every single time. Liquidation delta's shifted bearish, and ultimately not a good sign here to take along into that. We can also recognize here as well, from an open interest perspective, we've lost majority of the local open interest. In other words, we're below the heavy amount, and what that does, that implies that there's selling pressure. So there's going to be exit liquidity if the price comes up to 1800 to 1830. Those are the two heavy concentrations. Daily time frame, let's quickly recognize this here. We got a resistance range above us. While it does change a little bit, for the most part, we've seen that work as a strong support range in the past. So 1850 to 1900 roughly is that local resistance range. We've also got a CME gap too below the price action. So if you're not familiar with this, you don't catch all of my Bitcoin market updates. I do cover this as well, generally speaking. And 1720 to about 1750 is that local range. Technically, it's more like 1720 to 1740, but there is a decent chance we do see that little gap get filled. While gaps are never perfect, it's just kind of a little more incentive for the price to potentially continue lower. Take a look here, though, at the 4-hour time frame. Let's recognize a few things here, because the 4-hour time frame is roughly what I saw earlier that really gives me that shift in momentum potential. In other words, whenever I see the price action testing its ascending trend, which it was doing here pretty obviously about an hour or two ago, then there's a decent chance the price is going to continue lower. We broke free from our ascending channel. This is essentially a bullish rectangle type of pattern. Sorry, correction, I misspoke. This is a rising wedge pattern, which is generally bearish, okay? And again, the reason why is because it's establishing higher lows and parallel highs in most cases, and usually has difficulty getting across that barrier there. So it's maybe a little easier to see if you look at it this way. But the concept is it's losing steam, losing momentum, volume is drying up, and there's a lot of reasons why it's reversing. That being said, we're now under 50 in the RSI. That's a bearish sign. Unless we can close above that here sometime today, we're probably likely to continue a bit lower. Okay. Overall, not a positive sign, not something you want to take a long into, especially with the fair value gap just below the price action. Fair value gap's as low as about 1712. And if you noticed in my Ethereum short, it's about 1715, if I'm not mistaken, is going to be that take profit target for my second target. So to those who are shorting Ethereum, 1715 is a solid consideration for either a secondary target or a primary one if you haven't secured profits yet. Okay. It's all based on Bitcoin likely pulling back. While it's not a guarantee, there's a lot of reasons why Bitcoin is looking like it wants to continue lower, with a manipulative type of pattern forming as well with its power of 3. Okay, so these are all just things to kind of pay attention to and recognize. I hope it made sense and I described it correctly though. So much, or thank you so much rather, for the awesome support. You know who you are. Keep doing what you're doing. It'll help in the big picture. If you're new to the channel, maybe you've been watching for a while, you're just kind of getting lazy, hit that like button, comment below, let me know where you're at with your Ethereum trades. We'll look forward to seeing you in the next one. Hope you have a great rest of the day. Thanks again so much for your time. Take care.